the public meeting of Bargersville Redevelopment Commission for May 12, 2022. Everybody please stand and join me in the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Roll call starting with Jamie on the phone.
James Spector present.
Rob Daniels present.
Eric Prime present.
CJ Francourt present.
Eagle present. All right. All present and accounted for. New business and updates. Approval of the addendums for the real estate contracts. These are, we had talked about this last meeting that because of the timing of the bond issue, we need to extend our closing date on the parcels at 144 and 135. We have signed agreements from 3 of the 4 sellers to agree to that. And we can approve those. The one issue was Dr. Gannon, who is, I think, permanently in Florida now and has been impossible for them to get a hold of. The broker told me he's been calling 2 or 3 times a day for the last 2 weeks. It just goes straight to voicemail, and he signed the purchase agreement originally. So it's, and the thought is, I think, that we're probably okay to move forward because he hasn't been opposed to the deal. I think he wants to get it done, but it's just difficult to hold up. So we can approve the amendments.
That's what we're looking for today is your approval and then get his signature when they can.
Yeah, at some point. So, but he's just given us the ability to do the timing of the bond issue and then close at about, it gave us about a month and a half or
Through the end
month
of
and a half
July.
additional time. Yeah. Yeah. So I will accept a motion for approval of the amendments to the purchase agreement. I think we can probably
You
approve
can do them
one motion.
together.
I'll make a motion to approve that. Addendums.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote. Jamie starting, please.
Aye.
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 Aye. All right. Julie, updates.
Good morning. Couple things for you. One, Coffee House 5 is moving forward and they're going to be on planning commission agenda next week. So all their site items will be under review. Then any building permits will be the next item on there. And I think as you can see, driving through town, the police station is moving forward quite well. The trail project, we're making good progress on that. And then we are doing some bond preparation as well for Art Park. So we are also looking to get that moving later this summer. Major projects that we have moving forward. Any questions on any other things I may have missed in update?
They have a projected finish date for the police station.
We're hoping that it'll be in the next months. The officer will be moving in. There are a few things that, final delivery and those supply chain issues are still being worked out, but it's coming along good.
And then has there been a proposal to redevelop the old station?
There's a new owner for that, and he was in yesterday and didn't say whether he wasn't sure what kind of tenant would be.
Any questions for Julie? Thanks.
Thank you.
Next items are resolutions. We have a resolution, the declaratory resolution for an amendment to our ERA, or the Economic Development Plan. As a precursor to the bond issue. you want to discuss that or have? Yeah.
Go ahead, yeah. Yeah.
Adam Sturlow with Barnes & Thornburg going in for restarting today. So the declaratory resolution, as you mentioned, just updates the plan, sort of all the preparation for the bond issue. So this adds the construction of the plaza project to your plan, and then adds a list of parcels to the acquisition list. So just the deals that requires Secretary to acquire the property.
While you're up, do you want to go ahead and let us know what just discuss the bond resolution as well?
Yes, so the bond resolution, so this says max principal amount of $2,700,000, max interest rate of 7%. The final term, the final payment of the bond will be no later than February 1st, 2039. And then there is a special benefits tax, for property tax imposed if TIF is insufficient. So I understand the deal is that you have TIF, that'll be used to make your bond payments. However, if those are insufficient, it's going to be required to levy a property tax.
Right. Any questions?
Greg is also here from Baker Tilly in case there's any other items.
Did you want to
I
add to that?
know, my Heidi and Small sent over a report yesterday, happy to walk through if you guys like, or if you guys don't need each other.
It's probably helpful.
Okay, yeah, I'm happy to do that. Do you guys have a copy of that report, or if not, I'm happy to pass one of those out.
I did not include that in their
Okay,
packet.
I will pass, I have, more copies here. And, here's the resolution.
They do have copies of the resolution, yes.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Greg Moss. I'm with Baker Tilly. I work with Heidi Amspaw. And these numbers here are just kind of, I know she was here at your kind of last meeting, kind of presenting some different options, potential scenarios for a bond issue here for the land purchase. And so I'm just going to kind of walk through, this is the kind of more detailed analysis behind kind of the bank purchase option that we're kind of going forward with here at the moment. So I'm going to kind of walk through these schedules, as was mentioned by Adam, kind of showing that the TIF revenues are estimated to be sufficient. And while that special benefits tax is in place as a backup to the bonds, that is really used as a marketing technique to help get the lowest interest rate possible on the bonds. And that we would not expect, based upon existing TIF revenues, to need that special benefits tax. That really is just there as a, again, to get the lowest interest rate possible, and as purely a backup in case the TIF revenues were not ever to be sufficient in the future. So I'll kind of start here on page 2 of our analysis, showing the sources and uses of the bonds of the project. So we have here the purchase of the property here, as well as some costs of the bond issuance, debt service reserve, and you can see those outlined on page 2. We're expecting a bond issuance of just under $2.3 million based upon the TIF revenue stream. We've structured this bond issue to be based around 125% coverage. So what I mean by that, if you flip to page 4, you'll see that the debt service, the amortization, has been structured so that the debt service is 125% coverage regarding your revenue. So you'd have roughly $50,000 to $60,000 of TIF revenues remaining each year above your debt service payment to use for other pay-as-you-go projects, as well as just a buffer in case those TIF revenues change in the future. So that's how the bond amount has been determined, to provide that flexibility. So you can see here that we have, kind of the debt service reserve, which is another type of piece that banks typically require. It's another kind of cushion that'll be held in the fund in case the TIF were to be insufficient in 1 year. We've assumed that it'll be at 50% of the maximum annual debt service, and that kind of sits in that fund over time until the end of the bonds, against some other costs, and then a kind of cash contribution of $100,000 as in order to fund that purchase of the property for $2.1 million. So you can see a bond issue of $2,285,000, a cash contribution of $100,000 is what we're estimating as of today to fund that property with this bank purchase option. And again, these are just estimates as of today. Interest rates are obviously changing daily in today's market. So at the time of when we go out and solicit banks, we'll work with the town, work with the clerk treasurer's office, work with Julie, work with the office to get lists of banks and send this out to receive interest rate, receive bids, and get the best option. And we can structure the bonds based around the interest rates and proposals we receive. So kind of the estimated timeline at the moment is, after you guys hear this today, assuming it is approved, would be your council meeting on 5/31. There would be a council meeting, and assuming it was approved there, we would have an RFP out to local banks the following day. So on 6/1, we would go out to local banks and have this be a part of a kind of bidding document. And then we would have bids due in the middle of June. And then hopefully closing on those bonds in late June, early July, to be able to have those funds, again, potentially even closing on 6/29. So again, having those banks get those proposals in the middle of June and closing at the end of June on these bond issuances, assuming we get good bids. We have allowed in the resolution for any type of sale, so if the bids don't come in as hoped, there's always room to change. Again, that's not what we would want, but the resolution allows for different types of sale. So that's kind of the bonds. Page 3 goes through the proposed amortization. You can see that the debt service is about $215,000 per year. It's kind of the estimate. We have structured as a 15-year bond issuance. That's what we've been kind of, banks are looking at 15 years or less right now. They're not really looking at going longer than 15 years in the current market state. So we have the structures of 15-year bond issuance. And then again, the next two pages just kind of go through the TIF revenues, and the last page, page 6, just kind of shows that this is underneath the debt limit. So this does not have to be issued as a lease bond issue. That's what page 6 kind of shows, that the redevelopment district, you guys don't have any debt attributable to that debt limit, so you're able to do this as a non-lease financing. So we kind of have page 6 in there to kind of show that in here. So, and this will be a taxable bond structure as well. So just keep that in mind as well. The interest rates, it will be taxable due to the nature of the project and such.
So theoretically, as long as we have the ability to fund the debt service, we could take additional debt on beyond this and still be under that limit.
Yeah, exactly. If you had the TIF revenues, you're exactly right. Yeah, if you had additional TIF revenues and ability to issue debt down the line, you'll have to maintain a parity coverage. I think the resolution, is there additional bond provisions?
There is, but there's no test. It just reduces, because there's the property tax backup. So section 11 basically allows you to pledge the TIF to any other obligation, but you'll do that knowing you pretty much got to impose the property tax.
Just otherwise, we don't maintain the 125 coverage.
Right. Yeah, that's more of a marketing and sale piece to get. Banks look for that for the interested, but I mean, they also know no matter what, you can impose that property tax. It's kind of why they also like the reserve fund, because if you do start pledging that TIF to other projects, and then if you do need to impose that property tax, then there could be that reserve fund to bridge the gap, before you can impose that tax and start receiving the funds. So that's why that's there as well.
I suspect we don't want to trigger that tax. So.
Right.
I just wanted to make sure that was out in the open so we know what our limits are here. This will box us in for a little while.
Right. And I think page 4 of the analysis is key to show kind of, as it stands today, kind of with 2022 assessed values and tax rates and things like that, you're looking at, again, just estimates as of today. We'll see what the bonds come in and different things like that. But about anywhere from $265,000 to $273,000 of the increment, and again, anywhere from around $215,000 of debt service. to give you that 125% coverage, which is about $55,000 to $60,000 of TIF remaining per year to pay for your other fees and other.
And that's all based on us keeping this in place. I mean, the conversation we're having right now is assuming that we're gonna keep this existing bond in place.
Sure.
And we have the right to, I mean, we can redeem it at any time, that's a part of it as well, or I don't know what it's called when I say redeem it, I mean like.
The optional
Based
redemption.
on, based on the developer who comes in, we may want to restructure this.
Yes, I know that the bond resolution allows for an optional redemption provisions. But the banks will, part of their bid will include when they would allow you to redeem those bonds. So that will be a part of the bid package that
They know we want that type of a provision in there, the banks will know that.
yeah, they'll know that you'll want optional redemption.
And we talked about that, right?
Heidi went through that with us last
We
time.
want to have that ability.
Yeah,
Depending on which way we bid it or how we bid it, there was a way to do it that would have like a really long redemption period, like we wouldn't be able to redeem for like 10 years.
Oh, yeah. With a competitive or negotiated sale, you typically, with a competitive negotiated sale, typically in that market, you're pretty much looking at a 10-year call. They're not going anywhere around, it's an 8 to 10-year call standard. And that's when you're going the bank route, they're typically more apt to provide a shorter call period, sometimes even immediately, potentially. So I think the resolution that had everything confirmed, the resolution should allow for that option if the banks are willing to provide. So again, in the bids, we'll put in there that that's an allowable bidding, and we'll have a line for them to say, what are you guys bidding? So when we get the bids, we'll provide you guys all the banks that are bidding. So they'll bid on what optional redemption are they providing, what is their debt service terms, or excuse me, what is their maximum annual debt service requirements, what is their interest rates, what are things like that. And that way you guys have the different provisions so you can see, okay, maybe this bank is offering immediate optional redemption, like you're saying, and what interest rate are they offering for that. But like you said, if you went with a competitive sale, they wouldn't be able to, they wouldn't be able to accommodate a quick call like that.
And I mean, on the top of page 9 of, it says 9 of 54, it talks about the first call date. That's what we're talking about, right?
Are you talking about the resolution?
On the availability.
The
part of
other letter,
that. We talked about the bonds redeemable with the option of the commission on 30-day notices. Went through that. I mean, that's-
The parameters.
The parameters letter, yes.
The parameters letter, yes. Yeah, that's right. So that's what we put to allow. That was a letter for Adam and his team, Wrench, for them to use for their resolution to kind of put provisions in. So yeah, that's what the terms allow for guidance bonds. So again, the banks will still have to bid on those provisions, but again, banks are typically willing to provide much shorter call provisions than competitive markets are with underwriters and firms like that. That's like one of the big reasons we went. Sure. And another benefit, I think, Heidi mentioned to me, and one thing too is typically banks don't require a bond rating, which allows you to close much sooner. Because in the competitive market, you have to go with a bond rating, and bond ratings, you're looking at a little over 4-week time frame to receive that rating. So I know, with a bond rating competitive sale process, instead of potentially closing end of June, right at the beginning of July, you're looking at probably August, sometime in August, because of having to get that rating and go to the public market to get those bonds sold.
And then the TIF income revenue estimates on page 5, those are flat, just to be conservative.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Those obviously the big things.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. We just have done the conservative based on the most recent assessed value tax rates, just based on page 2022. Because most recent from the county and tax rates, things like that. Kind of ready to make a loss. But you're right, and, as you experience the development and other things, those will hopefully increase over time. And that's your $50,000 to $60,000. You won't have $50,000 to $60,000 a year. You'll have something much more than that you've been used to do other projects or.
All right, fantastic. Any other questions? Jamie, you good?
Yep, I'm good.
Thanks. Thank you all. All right, then on the table is resolution number 2022-04, a declaratory resolution for amendment to the economic development plan. Everybody had the opportunity to review that. Do I have a motion to approve that resolution? Motion, do we have a second?
A second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? Okay, hearing none, roll call vote, starting with Jamie, please.
Aye.
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 Resolution 2022-04 is approved unanimously. Next on the agenda is resolution number 2022-05, the actual bond resolution. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve the resolution number 2022-05 bond resolution.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that item? Hearing none, roll call vote. Jamie, please.
Aye.
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 All right, resolutions are approved. Thank you very much. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
All right, next item of business is the approval of the minutes from our April 14 meeting. Any edits, corrections, changes? A motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion, do we have a second? Second. Motion and a second. Discussion. Hearing none, roll call.
Aye.
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 All right, minutes are approved. Expenses, what do we have there? Get that part in the packet.
Yes, there's just the one for legal counsel.
Okay. So we need a motion to authorize payment to legal counsel.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Aye.
Aye. Ellen, you can continue your work. Plus one.
At least.
For last month.
Anything else, Julie, about the under budget? Good.
I'm
All
not
right,
aware of anything.
then next meeting will be Thursday, June 9. And unless there's anything else, we'll adjourn.